gonna do.
Yeah, it's dumplings, by the way, so you have to dip it into the sauce also. It's not like regular.
Okay. The hard things in life, huh?
You guys did. I guess Wing Wong wasn't open much this Shabbos.
No, we didn't. Yeah, yeah. You went back to the Menachem Oval
Well, nobody invited me on the road trip.
because you went already.
Yeah, you went already. Is it all
Nah,
you
that
can
was
eat
a
tonight?
beer. That was a beer run. That was a beer run.
Whoever gets invited to a Nichem Avelim, I don't understand. They need an invitation for that.
Rothman is called having friends.
Anyways, okay. So let's see. Not such an easy daf tonight.
You just call Liner your friend? Just keeping track.
Um. Okay, where did we leave off? We left off a little bit in the middle of the sugya. How does it go? Oh, yeah. So we were talking. We were talking about the sugya of whether you take Gazlan and Amalvi Barivis. Are we supposed to accept it back from them? Right, very difficult thing to understand. You have a crook, and the Gemara says a crook or somebody who lent Barivis, don't take the money back from him, because otherwise he won't do tshuva. Right? We had that story with the lady whose husband was doing tshuva, and she said to him, "Hey, if you're going to do tshuva, then you're going to have nothing left because you're going to get rid of everything." Right? So we're asking kashas on this Gemara. I read actually yesterday in the Ruchaim Kanievsky book that he got into a car. He was going up to Yerushalayim on Sukkot because to go up to the Beis Hamikdash, even Bizman Hazeh. So a guy offered him a ride in a new car. So he said, "Oh, that's great. I don't have to take a bus." Right? So he gets into the car, a brand new car, and the car doesn't start. So it just wasn't starting. So Reb Chaim asked the guy, "Do you by any chance lend it with ribis?" So he says, "I don't, but my shutuf, my partner, lends the ribis." So Reb Chaim says, "Yeah, there you go. That's." So that was it. The car didn't start. Reb Chaim wasn't going to get hanaf from the ribis, so he got out and he took the bus. Right. So, yeah. So that's according to that story. So I don't know if the malva beribis you don't take back the money. Right. So then what's he supposed to do with the money? Because you're not really shouldn't really benefit from the Isser either. So I don't know exactly. But anyway. So we're picking it up 4 wide lines down on Sadi Dalar number Bays. Right? Yeah, so Tashuma Hagazlanim Umalvi Beribis, so the Gazlanim and those that lend Beribis, Avabi Shagavu Mafsirim. I'm not sure if we did this yesterday. Okay, if we didn't, we didn't. If we did with Chazor. Right? So again, it says somebody who steals and somebody who lends Beribis, even though they collected the money, they have to give it back. So now what does this mean? Gazlanim Maisha Gavu Ika. What does it mean that they collected? Eat guzzle, be like guzzle, like guzzle. If they stole it, they stole it. If they didn't steal it, they didn't steal it. What do you mean gazlanim collected? What it says is gazlanim, umayndi, what is it referring to when it says gazlanim? Malvi rivius, people that are lending the rivis. Afal pishagovu, even though they collected their rivis, machzirin, they have to give back the money. So you see that you do give back the money. So the more answers, Amin Machzirin Be'emakam. What they do is they have to offer it back to you, but don't take it from them. Don't take it from them because we're afraid they're not going to do tshuva. So okay, so if that's the case, so what are we playing? Charades, right? They have to offer you back the money, and you have to refuse it, right? So then why are they giving it back for? Lots of yidei shemayim to be yaitze yidei shemayim, right? Um, which is quite interesting, right? Saying, what do you mean lotzis yedei shemayim? Are they? How are you yotzi yedei shemayim if you give the money? I'm saying if you don't give the money, l'chayr to be yotzi yedei shemayim, you're not tired. You're supposed to give it back. The chachamim made a takana that you don't give it back, right? So how would be you? How I mean, why you yotzi yedei shemayim?
L'chayr, you see that the two, the lotzis yedei shemayim and lotzis yedei adam are two separate things. Yedei adam would be to be memali his chesaron. Yedei shemayim is ben yotzi. He did the tshuva.
So it's ben adam. It's not ben adam l'chaver. It's ben adam l'makom.
It's a split. It's every ben adam l'chavera is also ben adam l'makom. You see in the Torah most of the times when chara'af is when we over on ben adam l'chavera is.
I hear. Okay, maybe. I'm not convinced, but I hear. Yeah. Okay, right. That's the Tashima Haroyim by Gaboyim, right? Shepherds and Gaboyim. Gaboyim doesn't mean the Gabai, although many people would probably like to think this about a Gabai, right? But a Gabai means a collector, right? Va'amoichsin is a tax collector. So meaning they're crooks from everybody. So tshuvas and kosher, for them to do tshuva is very difficult. The makirin, and they should give back the money to the people they know. Meaning, if a guy is a tax collector or a money collector, and he knows that he ripped people off, right? So whoever he knows he ripped off, he can go back to them and say, I ripped you off. But so you see that you're supposed to give back. At least if you know who they are, you're supposed to give back to them. So the same teretz, they give it back, but don't take it back from them. Again, lotzis yedei shemayim. So why is that tshuva difficult? What's the big deal? Nobody's keeping meaning. We're saying the tshuva is difficult because it's difficult for them to know who they stole from, right? But if nobody's taking back the money anyway, so what's the problem with the tshuva on kasha? It says in the Sefer, it says that if you don't recognize who the people are, so then you go, you do tzorchet tzibur. Right? What does that mean, tzorchet tzibur? You dig holes for people basically to have water. And now since you're helping the tzibur out, so mamela, that's like paying back the money. Right, so whatever it is, you see that you do give back. So Gemara therefore doesn't like this tirutzim. Ella loikasha kan kodim takona kan lachar takona, and l'chayre this teretz goes back on all the questions that were said previous. Anytime that you have a question over one brisa saying that you do return the geneva or the ribis, and you have another one that says that you don't. One is talking about before the Takana of Rebbe, and one is talking about after the Takana of Rebbe. After the Takana of Rebbe, you don't give the money, you don't accept the money. Before the Takana of Rebbe, you did accept the money. So Vahashta, then Gemara says Vahashta Zamar Rav Nachum She'ein Gezela Kayemes, that this whole din of Rebbe, that's when the Gezela was no longer. Meaning the guy stole he stole coins and he flipped it in the black market. And those coins are they're on the other side of the world. So then that's what Rebbe said, don't take it back, right? But if the Gezerah is still Kayim, meaning guy stole a wallet from a fellow, right? So give him back the wallet. That's what Rav was saying, because it's here, right? So give it back. You could say that they're both talking about after the Takana of Lokasha on Tamar Aleph. Whenever it says that you return the gazela, that's when it's around, and when the gazela is not around, then you don't have to. Right? So, and then Tosi says an obvious question, right? What about a shepherd? Right? What kind of gazela is kayemes? Right? Meaning, of course, it's not gazela. It's you have the food, you have the animals there. So anyway, he says basically you took the wool or whatever. with that type of thing, and then it's no long. Okay. And what I asked about, but what was the whole story? Again, this teretz is saying that in the story of Rebbe, the only thing that you accept when you return it is tangible things that are there. So wasn't the story that he was going to return a belt, or she said, even your belt is not going to go back. You're not going to have your own belt. So you see that it was tangible. Yet they said by Rebbe's days you should not accept it. So Gemara answers, "My avnet de may avnet." It didn't mean his actual belt. It meant the worth of his belt, right? So then the Gemara says, and where the Gzela is not around, the Rabbanan didn't make a takana. Morish, right? The takana of takana's Morish, which is a beam, the Gzela Kayam is the beam is still there. The Tanan ala Morish Hagazel Shabano Bevira. If you have a stolen beam that's put into a palace, that you only take the money because of the kanas hashavim. Meaning, we know that the kanas marish, right? We had this a few times, but we'll just say again. Basically, the guy steals a beam and he builds it into his house. If we're going to make the guy give back that beam, he's never going to do tshuva, because he's going to say, "Well, I should take apart my whole house. I should admit that I'm a ganav, take apart my whole house." So therefore, the Chachamim said, "Okay, if you take a beam and you build it into your house, you don't have to take down that beam. Just pay for the price of the beam, and it's okay." Right? So you see that that the beam is in existence, right?
I thought they did that because they didn't think that they were gonna rip down a whole house for a beam, not to save the guy busha.
Not the busha. No, we want him to do tshuva.
No, but I'm saying if they do tshuva, then you do it. Who cares what it looks like? You were just saying that he was going to busha. He's going to say, "Oh, people are going to know I'm a ganev."
Right, and therefore he's not going to do tshuva. No, not that he's not. No, if he takes down his beam, he's not going to do tshuva if he has to take down his beam.
Because of the busha, because he doesn't want to take down the beam.
Not because of busha. He doesn't want to take down the beam.
Oh.
Right? If I said busha, I apologize. I'm bavuish. If I said busha, he's not going to do it because it's going to be such a headache. Whatever it is, you see, the kasha is that the beam is in existence, and yet we're still pulling shtick to try and tell the guy don't take it back from him because he's not going to do tshuva. So how can you say that Rebbe's story was only when the stolen property was not in existence? Here you see it's in existence, and we still pull coolers to make sure the guy does tshuva. So my answer, Shani, Yosem, the key you could say the bira, you're going to lose the whole bira, right? That's considered shavi rabbanan kedulasa. We look at it if it's not there. Meaning, since the palace, if you're going to take out this beam, the palace is going to be destroyed. So therefore, you can't do that. So since you can't do that, it's as if the beam is non-existent, meaning it's gone, right? It's gone, right? So anyway, so that's the final teretz of the Gemara. So there's a difference between whether the Gezela is around or not around. Okay.
According to Tosfos, that who said before that the Gzeira of Rebbe is only B'dor Rebbe, what's the kasha here?
I was wondering. I think Tosfos does Tosfos discuss that? Not really the kasha. The Gemara's teretz is a problem according to Tosfos. Right?
The kasha is not shver. Takanas Maris was made 1,000 years earlier for a different reason.
Right. You have to say it was B'shas Rebbe, I guess. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, part of what Tosfos is saying is that the Mishnayos that bring Takanas, what's it called, Marish,
right,
before Rebbe. So Takanas Marish ultimately predated Rebbe.
Correct. And a Chanami. Dawid. So again, the kasha can't be directly with Takanas Marish. It's a different Takana. It's a total different Takana than Rebbe. Right?
Also,
Okay.
the answer we said in the Gemara before that the bira, the Shabana Babira doesn't mean he built it in as part of the roof of his bira. He covered a skylight with it.
Right.
There was no real shinui. That's what we said in the Gemara before.
Right.
So what's the answer here? Seder Debira. There's no Seder Debira.
No, the pashut, the reading of it is that it's going to destroy the whole thing.
Yeah, but we were forced to say before that there's no shinui in the sugi of shinui when we brought this last time. There's no real shinui. It's not part of the house. It's standing by itself and it's covering a skylight.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, we'll have to see about the sugya later. But the Gemara here clearly is learning that it's part of the mamish, part of. Or you say that maybe the guy doesn't want to take it down. So since he doesn't want to take it down, it's as if it's as if the palace is going to be. It's as if it's gone. All right. Okay. So let's see weiter. We're continuing in this difficult understanding of somebody stealing something and actually profiting from the stealing, right? So the Gemara says, "Gazal para muberes." So he stole a pregnant para, right? V'yolda, and then it gave birth, right? Or a sheep that had wool, right? And so what does he do? So he gives it back. He gives it back. That what the worth was. Well, now we're going to see some machlokas now. The three-way machlokas. Tanarabana. Hagoizel Rachel begiziza. If he stole a sheep and then he shaved it, right? Para v'yolda, or he stole a cow and he gave birth. Mishalim oisav es gizesev as well as divrei Rameir. So Rameir holds he's got to pay back everything, right? He has to pay back the stolen animal and with the wool and with the baby, right? The whole deal has to go. It's just not his. Rabbi Yehuda says the what he stole, meaning the animal, goes back, right? But he does not have to give back the baby. He does not have to give back the wool. For that, he could just give back payment, right? That's Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Shimon, no, we look at it like we evaluate it with kesef, meaning we see how much was it worth when he stole it, and that's all he has to pay that's all he has to pay. Right? So again, there's three-way machlokas here. Rameir holds you got to give everything back. Right? Rabbi Yehuda holds you have to give the original animal back, and in the improvements you don't have to give back, but you have to pay for it. And Reb Shimon says you just evaluate the whole thing at the time that it was stolen.
No, nobody takes into account the cost of shearing and the veterinarian had to come down and the obstetrician to help make the baby birth. Nobody takes that into account. The Ganav paid for the guy to do the shearing. That's a specialty, that job, and to be the midwife for the animal, that's a specialty. So who had to pay for that? No, he doesn't get paid back for that. Maybe why isn't that taken into account?
I'm not so sure it doesn't get taken into account. I don't know how we calculate it. They certainly don't say that here. We had it way back. How many blood ago did we say that the guy, the mazik? No, but we said it doesn't go like that, right? The mazik complains and says it cost me money, right? We said that. Oh no, that was by the pregnant wife that he caused the miscarriage. He said, "What do you mean? I saved you money? Because now you don't have to pay doctor's bills and you don't have to feed a pregnant wife, right?" And we came out the Gemara there that you don't say that, no?
No, we even said that by a tree. If you took the fruit off a tree, you can say, I saved, the tree is eating, whatever, it's taking less nutrients now, so it's weaker, it's worth less. So I can take that value off what I stole.
Okay.
Right. Okay. But is this going to come up later? Is it coming
There
up?
wasn't where it became a grama though.
I don't know.
It has to be directly connected to the actual Misa that he did.
What do you mean? What Rachamim is saying?
Yeah, the Misa Gzela has to take care of whatever he says he's saving the Nizik from. So just because later he added that he took care of the birth and he saved the guy from midwife or whatever you want to call it, a veterinarian, that's a grumma. That's not in the Ma'aseh Gzela. It has to be part of the Ma'aseh Gzela.
No, but he wants to charge him a fee. Racham is saying he should charge him a fee.
Then he shouldn't have taken it. That's a grumma.
I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know. Okay, let's see about it. Yeah, so that's the three-way machlokes. So the Gemara says, "Who my time of the Remeir." Why does Remeir hold that you have to give everything back to the guy that you stole it from? Right? What's the reason? Do we say because he holds that even though there's a shinoi, right? That's the sugi that was yesterday's daf. Do we say that even though there's a shinoi, I mean, even though there's a change in the item, which we said that our Mishnah held that once there's a shinoi, so the person's kaina and it becomes his. So do we say shinoi b'mekayma oimid? But here we're saying he holds no. It stays in its place, and shinoi does not go to anybody else. Meaning it doesn't. There's no kinyan because shinoi stays in its place. Oidilma ba'alma shinoi kaina. Really, shinoi is kaina, and really the ganav when the animal starts growing hair or when the animal has a baby, it's a new entity and should really be going to the ganav. But here we're giving him a knas, right? That we're giving him a knas that we don't want the ganav to gain, which is the exact opposite of what we've been saying till now, that we don't want to knas the ganav because we want to make sure that he does tshuva. All right, but here we're saying no, we're going to give him a knas. Really, he can keep the new, but we're going to a knas. So maybe this is a little different because this is him gaining, the ganav gaining something, not just losing. Losing, he's going to give back. Okay. Anyway, so what's an nafkamina? L'may nafkamina. What's the difference? The kacha mikhash. Let's say the animal we're talking about a case where the animal improved. What happens if the animal, how do you call it? There's no word deproved, right?
Depreciated.
I understand, but there's no deprove. Why does not improve?
Disprove.
Disprove. Is disprove?
No, that's the inverse of prove, not
Right.
improve.
But he's right. Why? He's right. Why shouldn't it be disproved? Okay, the point is, we're not English class, right? So why don't we? So meaning, if the animal went down in value, so that's also a shinui, right? Depending on how it went down in value. Let's say the animal went down in value. So does the guy have to pay back? Just give back the animal because now it's worth less, or does he have to pay back the full price of the animal, and he has to swallow the loss that the animal became worth less? So that would be
is it Shina Chayzer?
What?
We're talking about obviously Shina is not Chayzer?
L'chayra.
I'm saying who cares if it has a chasha?
What do I mean? Because if it's a hakasha,
You're saying it has to be a Shina Chayzer.
why? Who cares?
If his stam became weak and you could say a racial like.
Well, isn't that the question?
No, well, who would have a havmina your kindness in such a case? You're saying a mayor would knas you even in such a case?
You're saying that it has to be. Yeah, I don't know. You're saying that it has to be Shina Chayzer. Okay, yeah. I'm truth is I'm not clear exactly what the akasha is also, because why is that a shinui?
That's what I'm asking.
Like losing weight is a shinui. No, either whether it's a shinui or not.
No, I'm saying if it's not Shina Chayzer, if it's Shina if it's a akasha that's going to be Chayzer, that's not real Shinoi.
Right. So let's say it's talking about a broken leg.
That's
Right.
a Rishina.
That's a real shinui.
Right.
Yeah, I hear. Okay. Anyway, so that's enough to me. No? So Tashuma Gezel Behema Viskina. If you steal a behema and it got old, Avodim Viskinu, or he stole Avodim and they got old. So he said, what do you do with that, Akiva? Right? They just got old. They're not no more shinu than that. Right?
How much older? A year, 2 years, 10 years?
I guess enough to make a difference in their productivity. That's what I would think, but I don't know if that's true. Right? Enough to make the difference in the productivity, meaning it could be from 49 to 50, right? But whatever, their productivity fell off. So Mamela, there's Hakosha, right? So the mayor, I'm Bavadim. The mayor says Bavadim. Buy an Eved. You can say, here's your Eved, even though I stole your Eved for 10 years. Now he doesn't do anything, right? He's just a cucumber watchman now, right? Before he used to schlep things for you. I'm just taking an example. So he could say, by Eved, he could say, here's your Eved, I'm out. But a behema, Remeir says, you pay the way it was worth when it was stolen, which means that the robber is going to take a bigger loss by the behemoth than by an Eved. If you're going to think Sabra Meir Shinu, if you're going to think that Rameir says that the Shinu is in its place, Afilu Behema Nami, and even a Behema also, right? If you say that a Shinu doesn't change, so then doesn't change anything, then he should be able to give back the Behema too, because the Behema, even though it's worth less now, it didn't change anything. It was always belonging to the guy it got stolen from. Elalav Shmamina, Kasavar Rameir Shinu Kaina. It must be the Rameir holds that Shinu is Kaina. So therefore, the robber has to lose out if the price of the animal went down. And he's making a knas out of it, right? And the Eved, what's the shot that the Eved's different? Because we're going to see in a minute that Eved is like Karka, so Eved can't be stolen. So we want to prove from here that really Rameir holds that a Shinui is Kaina, right? And it's a Knas. So I'm Rameir, the brand of Rabbanon. So we're saying Rameir is going to say, no, not necessarily. I'm going in the Rabbanon. The brand of Rabbanon, I'm going in the Rabbanon. Lididi, Shinui ain't Kaina. According to me, Shinui is not Kaina. So it's nothing to talk about. Fila Behema Nami. And even a Behema also. It goes straight back to you say Haresh Fanecha, he gives it back, and the Ganav is not on the hook for anything. It's good. I'm Risa Shinu Kaina, but according to you, Chachamim, who clearly say that Shinu is Kaina. Why you should be minded to me that an Eved is like Karka, or Karka ain't an Exelis. And we know that Karka can't be stolen. So since Karka can't be stolen, so an Eved can't be stolen. And since the Eved can't be stolen, even though the Eved's now worth a lot less, so it's a Shinui. So you should at least be minded to me, just give back the Eved. The crook can just give back the Eved, because he was never kind of the Eved, because Karka ain't an Exelis, and an Eved's like a Karka.
Can I ask you? Okay, this is a little kind of confusing me with an Eved. When we said on one side you say Eved Daimon Lakarka, on the other hand, last week I had in the source of difference is a gun of a nafish. And what is that? That's what did he steal the guy at night, or he steal the guy during the day? What's the Geneva that is talking about in the source of difference? We're talking about kidnapping, So
a free man, not an Eved.
What?
A free man.
Okay.
A Yid.
Okay, so now he stole a Yid who's an Eved.
He's an Eved Kanani we're talking about, not an Eved Ivri.
We're only talking about Eved Kanani. So fine, he stole Eved Kanani. So that's not kidnapping that the Torah is talking about. So here he just stole a person. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, all right. Okay, Dharma Lakarka. I don't know how that works. It's a funny thing to say Dharma Lakarka, but I get it. But
Eved, let's say humans are Dharma Lakarka. That's what you're saying, Gershon?
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. Like Signov is talking about Gnevas the Fashis, a Yid to another Yid. This Gemara is talking about an Evet Kanani being done with the karka or done. It's a machlokes in the Gemara. The Rabbanan holds not done with the karka. It's metalkili.
But I'm saying no. Racham is meaning it's only an evet. It's not a human.
But it's bedavken Evet Ivri. Evet Kanani, sorry. Bedavken Evet Kanani. You can't have a
Every Kanani is chayiv in some mitzvahs. When you buy
yes,
an
you have a
yes,
Kenyan and an Evet Kanani. You own an Evet Kanani.
yeah, okay. So
The question is how what is considered metalklin or McCarthy.
Yeah. All right, we got to go because it's
okay.
getting. Got to go. Right. So
Rachman, why don't you have an issue that the fact that the guy you can own a human being? You know, you don't have that as the problem. You have the problem that the next person that steals him is the problem.
okay, well let's just
Ask that kasha later.
we'll do it for the post shear. We'll do that. Put it to the post shear thing. So Toshima. So when I bring another raya, so another fascinating thing, which is really a sugin bava metzia. Right, it's really a sugin bava metzia, but we bring it a little bit now. So Toshima, this actually happens. This actually is a case that happens. Right, you give something to a repair guy and he does a bad job, right, or he does the wrong job. Right. So Toshima, you give to a guy that's gonna dye your wool, and you ask him to do it red, and he did it black. Shachar v'tzavay Adam, or you ask him to dye it black, and he did it red. In my little experience with these things, it comes up in shoes a lot, not wool. Shoes, right? The women ask to dye the shoes a different color, and then it comes back a different color. So now they're fighting who's responsible for the shoe.
Does it come in your mailbox also? Different color?
Right. So anyway, so again, he dyed it the wrong color. So Rameir, so what goes on here? Rameir nice and light the mate Simray. All he has to do is he gives the dyer pays for the wool because he damaged the guy's wool, even though this wool now is worth, I should have said that before. When the wool was given, the white wool was given to the guy, it was worth $50. Now he dyed it black, it's worth $100. Right? So even though he did the bad job, but Lamaisa, if he gives back the wool, he just gives it back to the owner's going to make $50 on the deal. Right? Or you could say, no, when he dyed it the wrong color, he was kindness. So I'll pay you back your wool, and I get to keep the wool, and I get the 50, right? You could see that this is a recipe for a good, fat, lifelong machlokes, right? So, right? So Rameir, I'm a nice and light made simray. You give him, he just gives him the worth of the wool, the made simray in the made simray shvachalai. It's mashma, only the worth of the wool, not the worth of the wool plus the improvement. And if you hold that Rameir holds that Shinu is not kaina, which exactly what went on here, he colored it a different color, so it's a Shinu. So if you say it's not kaina, to make Simri Shvacha by Lamesale, then Shinu is meaningless. If you're saying that Rameir holds Shinu is meaningless, then he should have to pay back the guy the wool plus the improvements of the wool. Allah Shmamina, because Rameir Shinu kaina. Must be the Rameir holds that the Shinu is kaina. And it must be here in our case. The reason why Rameir is saying that you have to give back the animal and the baby and the wool and everything is it's a knas. Shmamina. That's what we hear from this. That there is.
Where do you have das to steal over here? Some a guy's screwed up on the he's contracted labor. He's screwed up on the wool. He's trying to steal it. So you can say Sheena's kind of. Sheena's on the corner if you're ready. You originally stole it.
Right.
So if there's any das ligzo.
No, it doesn't make a difference. You still be kind of. The Sheena is kind of, isn't it?
Sheena is kind of without a Kenyan, without an original Xela that you have in your sus. I mean, unless you want to let my friend say I want it now, so I'm going to steal it now. I never had das to steal. I'm like, 1 second, I screwed up my work, so I'm going to try to keep it. But like, he's trying to steal it, or he originally stole it. Where do we see that?
I thought it's an automatic that you kind of.
Why?
Why not? I mean, you didn't have das to be kind of.
Yeah, I didn't try to steal it originally. I thought I was dyeing something the right color, and I screwed up. And it's the wrong color. Where does Zayla come into play here? Or Ganeva, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, I don't know. I thought that when you do the shinu, so then you're kind of.
Why? You didn't have Das then to steal it either.
Okay.
You just didn't
But
know
I'm-
what you were
I don't know.
buying.
I don't know. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. We'll go in Bava Metzia. We'll hack this.
Maybe you don't need that. Maybe you don't need dust. Maybe you don't need dust. Not like.
But you didn't try to steal it. That's there's no Geneva over here.
No, but Lamaisa, the guy,
You think it's Ones?
you could. It's
It
whatever.
sounds like the guy made a mistake.
Okay.
So he's got
Yeah,
to
but
pay
he's still
for his mistake.
responsible.
He doesn't
mean,
have to
the
pay for his
odds of
mistake.
stealing
did
makes a
I'm
difference,
asking
the
you, he didn't try to steal it. We're saying he's kind of. With what? He didn't try to steal it.
Right. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not holding in the sugi now. I mean, in that sugi. That's I don't know what sugi I am holding in, but I'm not holding it in the kinyan of the. I thought it was Pashat. The guy made the mistake, so it's his responsibility. So now it's his. Now, question is, how does he pay it back? But it could be I'm wrong. Okay, Vita. So the other way, now the Gemara says a different version of this. Igad Amri. This is different than normal Igad Amri. Normally, Igad Amri just says the raya is all in the backwards, different than it said here. It's a whole different thing. Igad Amri, haloi ba'ila. That's not a question. Meaning that we don't have a question what Rameir holds. Meaning what? Rav the Tani, because Rav switched. This is the Mishnah in tomorrow's daf, and Rav switched the opinions. It says Gazal para v'skina. If somebody stole a para and it got old, Avodah v'skina.
So a sneak preview on Parrott's favorite answer for tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's not a favorite answer. It's a different switching. So the Gazal para v'skina. If you stole a para and it got old, Avodah v'skina. And you stole Avodim and stole Avodim and they got old. I mean, we had it on the top. We had it a few lines ago. You pay Kashas Gzela Divrei Rameir. You pay like the Shas Gzela, right? Which is the opposite of what we said before. So you see, according to Rav, he switched the shitas. So Rameir here is saying that you have to pay the original price, meaning whatever they were worth when they were stolen. So Vadil Rameir Shinu Koiner. There's no question in our mind that Rameir holds that when a Shinu happens, something different happens than your Koiner. And here we give him a knas. What's the shaila? I mean, again, the original shaila was, does Rameir hold that a Shinu is Koiner or not? Now we're saying there's no question that he holds that a Shinu is Koiner. What's the shaila? This is what we're asking. When he gave the knas, that's only if the guy stole b'mezid, right? But let's say he did it by mistake, right? Meaning, Rashi says, what's a pshat? He bought it from a guy. Now, the guy came over to him on the street and said, hey, I got a good deal on a cow, right? I got a good deal on a pregnant cow. So it doesn't dawn on him that it was a stolen cow. So he buys it, right? Now it goes up, so he's got to pay it back. Or do we say no? Even b'shoigig, a knas is a knas. So that's the shaila. So Tashima, so the Gemara brings a brayso chamisha goyvim ena mechurorim. There's five types of collections. We had this in Ksubis. I have very little recollection of this, unfortunately. But there are 5 that collect from mechurorim, and they can only collect from free fields. Free meaning we're going to have this on Ahmed Bays and tomorrow. I think tomorrow also. Whenever, actually in the bottom of, I don't know if we'll get to it tonight. But basically, when I lend money to somebody, right, then I put into the shtar that I'm guaranteeing the loan. How am I guaranteeing? With my land, right? So if a guy lends somebody money, a guy borrows money from somebody, and then after the loan, he goes and he sells a field. So now that field is meshubed, meaning if I default on the loan, if the guy defaults on the loan, then the field is going to be taken away, right? So that's called meshubed, right? But that only works with the field. It doesn't work with metaltalin. So again, there's 5 that you can only collect, meaning not from fields. You can collect from I don't know what the word of taich exactly, but
real property.
Who?
From real property, but not
real,
from chattel.
real property. I don't know what that means either. Real, meaning it can only collect from the property that the guy has in his property right now, not ones that already changed property. I guess that would be the way to say it, right? Meaning when I using the example that we said that when a guy makes a loan or borrows money, then that field is meshubed, so that field is no longer in the borrower's property. You're allowed to go get it. That's a lien, right? You go get it from the next guy that bought it. Here, these 5 cases, you're not allowed to do that. You can only collect from land that the guy has under his control. I guess that would be to say. Eluhain, what are they? Peiros, b'shvach peiros, means peiros, and any improvements that come from peiros, right? But makabel olav lozim ben ishto yifehu bas ishto. If the guy's makabel on himself, a nice fellow gets remarried, and he's makabel on himself to feed the kids of his second wife, which are not his kids. Right? Meaning these cases are all cases where there's no set amount of money. It can be a bottomless pit, right? If his wife's kids from the second marriage have a very high lifestyle, so there's no way to know how much money this guy just hooked himself up with, right? The get chayiv she'ein b'achrayis, and you have a get chayiv here. It's using the lashon of get. It does not mean a get, right? We said in gittin, we said a get, any document is really called a get. So if a get chayiv she'ein b'achrayis, or if it's a star that there's no achrayis written in it, uksubas isha she'ein b'achrayis, and a ksuba of an isha, and it doesn't say in there that any achrayis. Right, so now those are the 5 cases. So man shamalei domer achrayis lav toy soifer, and then there's a different machlokes. Right, if you have a star, which bozo is going to write a star, or a woman who's going to get married, and where it doesn't say in the star, who's going to lend somebody money with a star, and there's no guarantee in the star that the loan is going to be paid back. I mean, Baruch Hashem and Klai, there's a lot of people that do that nowadays, but really, it's not a smart thing to do.
I don't know if it's Baruch Hashem, but
well, Baruch Hashem for the Balei Chesed. I'm not saying Baruch Hashem for the people not paying it back, but there's lots of Balei Chesed out there, right? So Man Sham, well, the Gemara clearly doesn't seem like they had this Balei Chesed, right? Because there's a machlokes. If you find a star in the street that has no achrayis, can you just say that they're just going to passel up the star because they're going to say there's no way that this is a legitimate star, because who's ever going to write a star that doesn't have responsibility in it? Or do we say, no, it's just a mistake from the cipher, and therefore there is an unwritten, literally unwritten responsibility in there. Anyway, so who's the one that says it's not a mistake? Right? Rameir. That's Rameir. The Katani, Peiros v'shvach Peiros. It says Peiros and shvach Peiros. Shvach Peiros, what does it mean, shvach Peiros? Improvements of Peiros. So it's talking about where a guy stole a field from his friend, then he went and he sold it, right? He sold his friend the Brooklyn Bridge because he didn't own it himself. And then it improved. And it went out from his hand, meaning because he bought stolen property, so now it gets taken away from mitachas yodai. So kishu goivas, and now he wants to go back to the crook, and he wants to collect. Right, the guy sold him a field that didn't belong to him. So on Tamar Beis. So when he collects, he collects from the keren, meaning the base price. What do we call kerening? A principal. From the principal, he collects from the chasim mishubadim. And the improvements he cannot take from mishubadim, like we said. You can only take the improvements from things that the ganav has in his property. The also bal ara v'shokil ari v'shvache. Right now, if the bal comes and he takes his improvements, my lab ba'amoritz. Are we not talking about an amoritz? The lo yoda, the karka nigzelos and nigzelos. He has no idea whether the karka could be stolen or not stolen. Right? Bafilu hachi, and even so, kasi bal karka v'shokil ara v'shvacha. And the bal meaning, so he basically has no idea that he was rooked. And even so, the bal karka could come take the land and its improvements. Meaning, basically, the guy that bought it from the crook is a shaygig. How's he supposed to know, right? How's he supposed to know it's a stolen field? And how's he supposed to know whether the field is going to be his and not his, etc., etc.? So he's a shaygig, yet we say that he loses the improvements. This is basically what Rachman was saying before, meaning the guy put money into the field. He buys a field. For 6 months, he's putting work into the field, etc., etc. Now the field went up. All of a sudden, the court knocks on his door and says, "By the way, you bought a stolen property. You got to fire your what do you call those people that do it? Meridian, not Meridian. No, Meridian's a mortgage place. What's the other one? The place in Lakewood. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. When you do a mortgage, you need to do a
Title.
Title.
Riverside.
The title.
Riverside, Jack, Riverside.
No, Madison.
Madison, Riverside. They did a lousy job. You ended up buying a stolen property. So he's a shaygig. I mean, right? He's a shaygig. Yet we say he loses all his profits, right? So you see that we're going to knas a shaygig too. So Amri loy belakech Talmud Chacham biyada. So Gemara gives the pasha the teretz. Not talking about Amar. It's talking about a Talmud Chacham, and the Talmud Chacham knows that karka can't be stolen, and he should have, and he knows he should have known that See, here it sounds like they knew it was a stolen field, but he didn't care because he was an Amoretz, and he thought, oh, stolen field, it's going to become mine if I improve it with a shina. And I was saying, no, it's a Talmud Chacham, so he knew it was a stolen field. He should have known that it doesn't go to him. Okay, this is not so easy.
That means, so if the case would be he was an Amoritz, he would get paid? Or is it only talking about a case where it's a Talmud Chacham, so then he loses out? Okay, so what if the guy was a case was a Amoritz, and then does the Amoritz also just lose out just because he should have been a Talmud Chacham?
No, that's what we're saying. Well, that's what we're saying. If he was an Amoretz, in Amoretz, he would not lose out. We're saying it's a Talmud Chacham. In the Havamina, yes, he's an Amoretz, he loses out. And the Maskano is saying, no, he's a Talmud Chacham. He was an Amoretz and a Chanami, he wouldn't lose out. Right? I don't know what we paskin like. So Toshima, the Tzvayalay Adam. So now we're going to bring a raya from the same case that we said before. The Tzvayalay Adam, it's Shachar. You give the wool to a guy to dye it, and you ask him to dye it red, and he dyed it black. Shachar and Tzvayalay Adam were black, and he dyed it red. You give him the worth of the tzemra. To make tzimri in, to make tzimri shvachad loy. It's mashma. You only give him the worth of the wool, not the worth of the wool and its improvements. And if you say that b'shoigig is also knas to make tzimri shvachad by the meisvulin, he should give him the worth of the wool and the shvach. So therefore, we see that this knas is only b'mezid and not b'shoigig shmamina. So that's what we learn out from that. Okay, so now weiter. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Gzeila Chayzeres Be'ene. So we said that according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Gzeila goes back the way it is. Right? Meaning you give back the cow and you give back the sheep. Right? But the baby, the calf, and the wool, the Ganav keeps it, but the Ganav has to pay for it. Meaning whatever it was worth then. Right? Right, it's a shita that it's hard to understand it. Meaning philosophically, it's hard to understand it. You stole a guy's pregnant cow, right, which was worth, let's say, $100. Now it has a baby, and now you have a calf. So now Rabbi Yehuda is saying you keep the calf, and you just got to pay back. You got to give the cow, the mother cow, back to the guy you stole it from. And let's say it's worth less because a non-pregnant cow is going to be worth less. And then you pay back whatever amount of money it was to get it up to the price that it was worth when it was stolen. So let's say a pregnant cow, you stole it was worth 100. Now it had the baby, so you keep the calf, and now the cow is worth 75. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you give him back the cow and then plus 25 that you have to pay for to get it back up to the price, and you get to keep the calf. Right? It's a great business move. I mean, I don't know exactly what you over, but it's a way to get a free calf. According to Rabbi Yehuda, but Shimon Amarayin Asakilu Hishuma, it's like the kesef. You look at it like you evaluate it just with the kesef. Okay, so what's the difference here? I
mean, you called the Ganav now, no?
Well, you returned it.
But you still stole it.
You were a Ganav temporarily, and then you returned it.
Oh, so now you're okay, fine.
Oh, I don't know. We got to do shari tshuva for this, right? I mean, l'chayra, you did tshuva. You stole a cow. Listen, I don't think you're getting the tzaddik a year award. But you stole a cow and you returned the cow. It was the same thing what we were discussing yesterday with the Amazon and Costco. Get yourself a 400-inch screen TV for the Super Bowl, right? use it, and then return it. Ah, Lando, Naftali, you missed it last night. Right?
I heard all about it.
Ah, okay, there you go. So, okay, at least now with Yaitza,
You know, you could do the same. You can say the same answers with the people that want to take do something else while they're working. Ask the boss, right? So ask the company. They'll say no, and you'll have your answer.
Yeah. Listen,
right? Did you say that about the work? Ask the boss if during your downtime you could go on your phone, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I bet you if you asked all these companies, they wouldn't say you could borrow our product for a week and then give it back, no matter what the return policy is. The return policy is there for innocent thing, not doing it.
Question is, so the same thing with this crook over here. Nobody's going to tell you that you're allowed to do this, but the bottom line is, you stole the guy's cow, a pregnant cow. It had a calf. You paid him back the cow plus whatever the discrepancy was now that it's worth less, and hallelujah, everybody goes home happy. Right? I don't know if the guy that got stolen from goes home happy. Okay, whatever it is. So anyway, so what's the difference between these two shittas? Seems like Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon are saying the same thing. So my binay, we're talking about the shvach that's on top of the gezela, right? Meaning, it's talking about where it improved the cow. He stole the cow, and then the cow got pregnant in his rishos, in the crook's rishos, right? And it did not yet have a baby, right? Or it grew a lot of wool. The sheep grew a lot of wool, and he didn't yet cut it. So now, does he have to give that whole thing back, or can he keep the fetus or whatever, the calf when it's born, or keep the wool? So Rabbi Yehuda Savar, the nigzal have it. Rabbi Yehuda says, sorry, he go. Then in that case, it's the nigzal's. It's his. You got to give it back. Rabbi Shimon Savar, the gazlan have it. Rabbi Shimon says, no, belongs to the gazlan. Obviously, the gazlan has to pay for the cow and the sheep, but it belongs to him. That's Rav Zvid. So Rav Zvid holds the machlokes is that Rabbi Yehuda holds it's the nigzals, and Rav Shimon says it's the gazlan. He says no. They both hold that the shvach, if it improved, it becomes the gazlans, right? The ganav. The question is when we say it goes to the gazlan, so does he get to either does he either get a half, a third, or a quarter of what it's worth? Why it does it in that order, I don't know. All right. I guess it's going down maybe. Anyway, the point is that sometimes when you give your cow to somebody to improve it, or your sheep to somebody to grow the wool, right? So therefore, there's certain different towns with different rates. Some places, or that the guy that improved the cow for you got half, right? It's a basic commission. Was the commission 50% commission, 33% commission, or 25% commission, right? So what Reb Shimon is saying is that the gazlan doesn't get to keep the whole cow or the whole improvement from the cow. No, he gets to keep the percentage that somebody would get for doing this job for the person, right? Again, Rav Papa Omer the Kuli Am Shvach Shal Gabi Gazela the Gazlan Hab. You go to the Gazlan. The machlokes is when we say that it goes to the Gazlan, doesn't mean that he gets a 50% stake, a 33% stake, or a 25% stake. Rabbi Yehuda Savar Shvach Shal. That's actually not a good pun based on the next Gemara in a minute. But Rabbi Yehuda Savar Shvach Shal Gabi Gazela Kuli the Gazlan Hab. The Shvach, the whole thing goes to the Gazlan, right? There's another great thing. So take a guy's cow. Steal a guy's cow, get it pregnant, keep the calf, give back the cow, everybody's fine. That's according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says no. Rabbi Shimon says the gazlan can only take whatever the normal percentage is for somebody to take somebody's cow and get it pregnant, or get somebody's sheep and grow the wool. Right, so that's the machlokes. So Tanan. We'll go a few more lines. I know it's late. Tanan, part of the sabra etz leviyoda. Gazal part of the sabra etz leviyoda. If a guy stole a cow and then it became pregnant, in his rishus, in the God's rishus of Rachel in the Tana Etzloi, or he had a sheep and he got loaded up. The gizizon, he shaved it. Mishalim kishasa gazela. He pays whatever the animal was worth when he stole it. Yolda in it's mashma only if it has a baby. Lo yolda, but if it didn't yet have a baby and he decided to do tshuva, this guy's a real fool, right? He stole it, and instead of doing tshuva after this calf is born, he decides to do tshuva when it's still pregnant. So now we have this shaila: does it go back or not? So the Mishnah is saying, the Mishnah is saying, if it didn't give birth, it goes back be'en. So now who is this like? Again, this Mishnah is saying that if a guy stole a cow and it got pregnant in his property and he wants to give it back now when it's still pregnant, right? Or a sheep and it grew a lot of wool and he wants to give it back like that. So does it go back or not? So the Mishnah says that he pays kishas hagzela, right? So, but that's mashma, that's only if it had the baby, but if it didn't have the baby, then it goes back the way it is. So who is this? According to Rav Zvid, who's Rav Yehuda, according to Rav Zvid's opinion in Rav Yehuda, is that the improvement that's in the sheep goes to the nigzal. So Hamani Rav Yehuda, this is going according to Rav Yehuda, that if you didn't shave the sheep, or if the cow didn't have the baby, it goes back to the nigzal. So we have somebody who can be the author of this mission. El Rapapa, but according to Rapapa, who says that the crook gets to keep all the improvements, Hamani. So then who's this Mishnah? Loi Rabbi Yehuda, Loi Rab Shimon. It's not Rabbi Yehuda, it's not Rab Shimon. So Rapapa, no hu adin afilu lo yolda nami kashas v'zelu de mishalim. Even if it didn't have a baby, you have to pay back the cow whatever it's worth during the shasa gzela, which is less than what it's worth now because now it's pregnant. And why did it say the word yolda? I did the nasiv reisha yolda, nasiv sefer nami yolda. Right, the very common terrace that we say. Since in the sefer it said that the baby, that it's talking about where it gave birth, so then in the reisha it also, since in the reisha it's talking about where it gave birth, so in the sefer it also says. The Tanakh would say the Rapapa, Rav Shimon Omer, Royan Oisek, Ilu Hishuma Etzloi. We see a brisa that says beferish like Rapapa's pshat. Look at it as if it's Shuma Etzloi, then we evaluate how much it's worth, Bekesef, in money wise, Lemechza, Lishlish, for the Ravia, either to half, a third, or a quarter. So you see, we have a brisa beferish that says that according to Rapapa, the Ganav only has to give back what it was worth, and he only gets to keep a half or a third or a quarter, depending on the minig medina for that type of thing. Okay, we'll stop here. Tomorrow, in all probability, we're going to start early. We have yard side for my father, so Mastama will probably start 7:45. Sorry, Naftali Landa. We don't want you on tomorrow, so that's 1 day. Every other day we're going to work on it. So
that's a good schedule for me. Every other day.
I don't know. I'll post it out exactly what time.
We gotta wean him. We gotta wean him back into it, so we don't want to overwhelm him.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah, the 5 o'clock in the afternoon shears, just not too,
Yeah, figure about 7:40, 7:45. Okay, till him. Yeah.
What time is the yard side to?
Officially 8:30. All right.